Great Lakes beaches are unique habitats occurring along the coasts of all 5 Great Lakes in both North America and Canada. These habitats have a sandy or rocky substrate and experience harsh conditions such as strong wave action, full sun, and high winds. Great Lakes beaches are often associated with dunes and showcase a successional pattern with a sparsely vegetated lower beach, a middle beach with a dynamic plant community, and an upper beach usually transforming into a conifer-dominated forest. These beaches provide important habitat for many organisms, including endangered and threatened species, endemic species, and migratory species such as shorebirds. Unfortunately, many beach habitats in the Great Lakes region have been lost to development, and the remaining habitat continues to face many other threats. In order to conserve threatened and/or endemic plant and animal species and to preserve beautiful landscapes, Great Lakes beaches must be restored. Great Lakes beaches are vulnerable to many threats, most of which are human-induced. The primary threats that beach habitats face are development, recreational activities, and invasive species. Much of the historic Great Lakes beach habitat has been lost or fragmented due to housing development of mainly cottages or vacation homes and the development of restaurants, hotels, and roads. Another form of development that degrades the habitat quality of beaches is the building of piers, riprap, and seawalls, which interfere with natural erosion and sand replenishment processes. Beaches are also vulnerable to recreational use such as swimming beaches, hiking, and off-road vehicles. The development of swimming beaches requires completely clearing beaches of any plants and debris for a smooth, sandy surface that the public can enjoy. Removing beach debris, such as driftwood, results in the loss of invertebrate microhabitats and removal of plants, significantly lowers native plant diversity, and reduces population numbers of already threatened species. Great Lakes beaches are also threatened by recreational hiking and use of off-road vehicles like ATVs. Both foot and vehicle traffic are damaging to the sensitive plant community associated with beaches. Many threatened and endemic plant species are home to Great Lakes beaches, and heavy traffic can uproot and kill these species, furthering the reduction in population numbers. In addition to foot and vehicle traffic, some beaches have created many cleared trails along the beach for easier hiking and ATV use. The clearing of trails is damaging to the habitat and plant community and furthers the decline in population numbers for sensitive plant species. Another primary threat to Great Lakes beach habitat is the invasion of exotic plant and animal species. Common invasive animal species threatening beaches are zebra mussels, quagga mussels, and alewives. These organisms cause issues with water quality and clarity, interrupt the food web, and tend to accumulate along beach shorelines. Invasive plant species typically have a greater negative effect on beach habitat as they outcompete and displace threatened and endemic native plants. Since Great Lakes beaches are often the only habitat where these sensitive species occur, and habitat is continuing to decline, invasive species pose a significant threat. Common Great Lakes beach invasive plants are Phragmites, spotted knapweed, purple loosestrife, and buckthorn. Beach development, recreational activity, and invasive species all have significant negative effects on Great Lakes beach habitat and its associated plant and animal species. Examples of rare plant species that are vulnerable to the threats facing beaches are Houghton's goldenrod, sea rocket, and dune thistle. Dune thistle, or Cirsium pitcheri, is of special interest as it is listed as a federally threatened species. Dune thistle is an early successional species and will colonize open, sandy areas of beaches. An important feature of dune thistle is its life cycle. This species can take between 5 and 8 years to fully mature into an adult individual. In addition to a lengthy maturation period, dune thistle is also monocarpic, meaning that each individual plant only flowers and sets seed once in its lifetime. These characteristics of dune thistle's life cycle are thought to have some implications as to why this species is federally threatened. Since the time period to reach reproductive maturity is so long, with only one opportunity to reproduce, it can be a challenge for dune thistle to produce high population numbers. However, human-induced threats certainly take most of the responsibility. Dune thistle is primarily affected by residential and tourism development, road construction, and recreational activity such as the creation of swimming beaches and heavy traffic, both foot and vehicular. These threats mechanically destroy habitat and vegetation, which is what dune thistle is most sensitive to, causing a significant decline in population numbers. In addition to habitat destruction, invasive plant species can easily outcompete and displace dune thistle due to its small population sizes. Rare animals are also subject to the negative effects of unsuitable and declining habitat. Migratory shorebirds are a great example of animals that heavily rely on Great Lakes beach habitat. However, due to loss of habitat and low-quality existing habitat, migratory shorebirds are struggling to grow in numbers as Great Lakes beaches often serve as breeding grounds. Piping plovers, or Charadrius melodus, are perhaps the migratory bird species of highest concern and is a federally endangered species. These small shorebirds were historically a common migratory species in Great Lakes regions, but have now disappeared from most of its range. Piping plovers depend on adequate beach habitat of the Great Lakes for reproduction during the spring and summer months. The cause of such considerable decline in population can be attributed to loss of beach habitat by development and altering existing habitat for human use. Where piping plovers are able to successfully breed, their nests are threatened with destruction due to high traffic of hikers, off-road vehicles, and dogs. Great Lakes beach environments clearly face many threats, negatively affecting various aspects of the habitat and the species associated with it. In order to conserve these unique ecosystems and beautiful landscapes, Great Lakes beaches require restoration. When beginning a beach restoration project, one of the first steps is often removal of undesirable plants, such as woody and invasive species. When beaches become overgrown with these types of plants, woody species begin overcrowding the open habitat, which is a trait of Great Lakes beaches that native wildlife commonly depend on. On the other hand, invasive species dominance can outcompete native plants and decrease plant diversity. These unwelcome plants can be removed from beaches by hand or by herbicide application. Hand removal is the preferred method as herbicide may pose a threat to native plants if not applied carefully. However, herbaceous invasive plants are not always successfully eradicated by hand and require several applications of herbicide treatment. Beach cleanup, such as picking up litter and removing accumulated zebra mussel shells, is typically paired with the removal of plant species for an overall clearing of any unwanted material. However, it is important to avoid removing any naturally occurring debris, like driftwood, to promote invertebrate microhabitat. Reopening beach habitat by removing encroaching woody and invasive species exposes sandy substrate and allows for the habitat to be returned to its typical form. This type of restoration promotes growth of native plants requiring open habitat and use by animals like shorebirds for nesting. Another beach restoration method is trail hardening and reducing heavy traffic on beach trails. In order to decrease the destruction of native rare plant species, the number of trails should be reduced and designated only to what is necessary for use, giving accessory trails a chance to revegetate. This will reduce the area of habitat requiring vegetative clearing and will promote the growth of native species. If possible, trails should be redirected so that they are not crossing through sensitive areas containing vulnerable species. In addition to decreasing the number of trails, trails can also be modified to reduce their impact on vegetation through trail hardening. Trail hardening can be achieved by overlaying durable rubber matting on existing trails to stabilize the soil and avoid uprooting the surrounding vegetation. Like native plant restoration and protection, methods to restore animal populations also exist. Sticking with the piping plover example, enclosures can be used to protect the nests of reproducing shorebirds from predators and humans. Since piping plovers have trouble successfully reproducing and increasing their low population numbers, it is important that offspring be protected. Piping plovers nest on the open, sandy portion of Great Lakes beaches, making them vulnerable to predators and human disturbance. Nest enclosures are typically made from wire mesh and keep out predators like raccoons, coyotes, foxes, and predatory birds, while still allowing the plovers to enter and exit the enclosure through small spaces at the base. People can potentially destroy shorebird nests by accidentally stepping on them when hiking, or allowing their pet dogs off-leash where they can step on or dig up nests. These enclosures alert people of nest locations so they can be approached with caution, avoiding any destruction. Managing woody and invasive species, modifying trails, and protecting native plant and animal species work to restore Great Lakes beach habitat. Although significant portions of Great Lakes beaches have been lost to development and continues to face additional threats, several restoration methods exist to protect the remaining habitat. Restoring Great Lakes beaches is important because it increases habitat quality, conserves endangered and threatened species, and prevents the loss of beautiful and unique ecosystems.